Welcome back to the Dalitalks podcast. I'm really excited today to have Amy Harrington and Nancy Harrington. They're two amazing sisters who founded the Passionista Project out of a deep desire to empower women around the world. They are working with a lot of people that have high influence, and they just want to make sure that these people are at the forefront of all women like us who are searching for inspiration, motivation, and something meaningful to get into. So without further ado, here are Nancy and Amy. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely. You're so welcome. And we connected through Julie, who is also amazing.
I love Julie Collins.
Right.
One of our favorite people on the planet.
Yeah, she's amazing. Yep. And I'm so glad she connected me to both of you because I've been watching what you're up to, and we need a lot more of that. So will you tell us a little bit about both of you yourselves, maybe a little bit about your childhood to give us an idea of how you led up to where you are now?
Sure. Well, it's a very long story, but we'll try to keep it short. Amy and I grew up in a suburb south of Boston, Massachusetts called Braintree. When I was getting ready to go to kindergarten, I told my mother that I thought she should have a baby so that she wouldn't be lonely when I was at school.
Oh my God, that's the cutest.
And that
what you wish for.
That baby was Amy. So she not only became my little sister, but my best friend. We were constantly together. And we grew up in a really tight-knit, loving family, very creative family. There was always music and art and movies and plays and, creative crafts. And, we were always making and, watching and listening to something. So we grew up in a really creative family, but Amy and I were thick as thieves, best friends. And then she moved to LA. And we lived apart for 10 years while she worked at Warner Brothers. She was the vice president of post-production and visual effects of feature films at Warner Brothers. So she oversaw post and visual effects on a couple hundred movies at her time at Warner Brothers. In the meantime, I was running a graphic design business back in Boston, and my husband and I also had a theater company. So I kept busy, but I was lonely without Amy. So after 10 years apart, I moved to LA. And when I got here, I started working at an ad agency that did the Academy Award campaigns for Miramax and Paramount Classics. And Amy was in a really, really high pressure position at Warner Brothers. And we both started feeling pretty shortly after that we were ready to do something else and to move on. And so we took hands, Thelma and Louise style, and jumped off the cliff and quit our jobs at the same time. Kind of unsure of what we were going to do, really. We were working on a project with a friend, but that didn't pan out. And so we did a lot of different things for a few years until we settled on our own company called Pop Culture Passionistas. And that's when we started interviewing celebrities. And, two shy girls from Braintree, Massachusetts, who dropped classes if they thought they had to give a speech to somebody or give an oral presentation. All of a sudden, we're, on the red carpet at the Emmys interviewing celebrities. So strange things happen in this life. But we really discovered that we loved interviewing people. And so we did that for a long time. We did amazing archival interviews for the Television Academy, where we sat for 3 or 4 hours at a time with, a celebrity like Louis-Dreyfus, and, learned about her whole career. And then around 2016, things started to change in this country and things got a little tense. And we realized that we wanted to expand our company and do something that was a little more meaningful. And so we started the Passionistas Project. And that's when we started interviewing women who are following their passions in the hopes of inspiring other women to do the same thing. And we've talked to everyone from a woman who owns an ice cream company to a woman who was a volcano scientist that ran for office to activists and artists and everyone in between. And that has morphed into our summit, which is we're on our third year and it's called The Power of Passionistas, and it's a women's equality summit, and it's focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we have panels, ranging from authenticity to knowledge and more.
That I love that story. I especially love that you asked for a little sibling and you got one. That's so beautiful.
It's the family lore. I'm not sure how true it is, but that's the story we've all been told.
Yeah, let's run with it. But
it kind of works out timing wise if you were thinking farther ahead than.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely was a planner, even at a young age. So, I'm sure I was thinking, in the winter of 19 below, I won't give away your age, and that, and mom needs to start planning if this is going to happen.
And so what's fascinating is you both had these amazing jobs. And you decided, we want something more meaningful. And here you are. And you've interviewed. Well, first, I must mention, because I found this so fascinating. And I want to point this out because women who do this work are not mentioned in the forefront. They're usually in the back, in the hidden credits or whatever. So I want our audience members to know that you've both worked on amazing things. And some of the things you worked on, Amy, who was the vice president of visual effects and post-production, which, let me tell you, that title alone, I was like, whoa, I didn't even think. But
it's a long one.
Yeah, you worked on Harry Potter films and The Matrix, some of the largest, biggest movies out there. And then both of you have interviewed people like Frida Moreno, Lily Tomlin, Laverne Cox, Deepak Chopra, Carol Burnett, and so many more. I mean, Mick Jagger, amazing. And you've taken all of this experience and now you're using it for the rest of us and giving women who are doing amazing things a platform to be recognized, and so that others can reach out and network and collaborate and do all this amazing stuff. So thank you so much for that, because I know now my daughters will have yet another resource, especially when they enter the workforce. Right now, they're almost 15 and 14. I mean, almost 16. She's always reminding me. She's like, I'm practically an adult, Mom.
Stop telling me what to do.
Yeah. So, and right now, I mentioned both of you. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're doing this and this. And they're like, oh, that's cool. And I'm like, they say, oh, that's cool right now. But I think later they're like, Mom, what was the two ladies who talked to me about? Because I'm doing this, So
that's beautiful. Well, we hope that's true. I mean, it's interesting. We've had a few interns over the last couple of years, and, we try and involve them creatively as much as we can. And a couple of them have been really shy when they started working for us. And by the end of the 4 months, one of them went on to work on late night with Seth Meyers as an intern right after us. And it's not because we taught her all these skills. It was because she was listening to all these interviews we were doing. And by the end, she was like, I have so much more confidence now because of the women that you exposed me to and hearing their stories. And it was, to us, that was, hearing you say you want your daughters to keep us in mind, that's the most powerful thing, because we're appealing to women our age, or, 30s, 40s, 50s, into the 60s. But really, our ultimate goal is to be building something for young women to be inspired. And so we hope that mission carries forward, and we welcome young women, to join the conference. We have student tickets for our summit because we want young women to become involved in our movement.
Yeah, I saw that, and it's so exciting. So let's talk about the summit, because I know a little bit about it, but I want everybody else to learn about it and to be able to hopefully attend and hear from these amazing women. So tell us a little bit about that summit.
So, like I said, it's called The Power of Passionistas. It takes place this year on September 21st through 23rd. We're going to kick off the 3 days with a comedy event of all women comics. And then all day Thursday and most of the day Friday, we're, kicking off a little early so people can enjoy their weekend. But we're going to have panels of a diverse group of women on each panel talking about how an individual topic affects them from their perspective. And we've really tried to make each panel as diverse and inclusive as possible. So we have women from the LGBTQ community, the trans community, the AAPI community, the Black community, the Latinx community, the disability community. And we really have made this one of the most inclusive, definitely our most inclusive summit, and really one of the most inclusive summits out there. I think we checked recently, Amy, and we were somewhere around 75% of the women involved.
Yeah, 70 to 75, yep.
Come from a marginalized community of some kind, other than the women who are all marginalized, but the intersection of women and these other communities. So and
non-binary people as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And so we have, I think we have 8 or 9 panels at this point, and topics like the power of authenticity, the power of decolonization, the power of knowledge, the power of media. And we're just, they're storyteller events. So every woman on the panel will tell a story about how that topic personally affects her. And then there'll be a roundtable discussion afterwards so the women can talk about how they are seeing this topic from the other person's perspective, which we don't usually get an opportunity to do. So, and then the Thursday night event is the Passionistas Persist Award. Amy, do you want to tell them about that?
Yeah. So as you know, Dolly, because you're participating in that, we give a series of awards to women who are, known for having followed their passions and creating a legacy that inspires women. So we are giving at least 4 awards this year. We are going to have you and Julie DeLuca Collins present the award to Denaya Scanavarino. So we're very excited about that. We have presented the Trailblazer Award to Soraya Shmali. We are presenting the Humanitarian Award to Rebecca Coakley, who is a disability rights activist. And then we're giving the Icon Award to Lorraine Newman, who was one of the founding cast members of Saturday Night Live and has gone on to have a thriving voiceover career. And so we hope that these women's stories will inspire other women to persist in the world, whether that's persisting in a career in acting or persisting in activism or persisting in entrepreneurship, building communities. So we have a short presentation of each award, and then they're followed by conversations and interviews with the presenters and the recipient. So they're really powerful conversations. And we're really excited about that.
I'm really excited too to hear from all of them because, I think a lot of people underestimate the power of hearing the story of somebody who has achieved so much. I think maybe youth, they don't really conceptualize, but then in hindsight, they'll look back and think, oh my gosh, I just realized that when I heard this, that actually did something unconsciously, and I started making moves to get to where I am now.
Yeah,
and that's something that I focus on so much with my children and any child that I have the opportunity to mentor or speak with, because I've read so much. Young girls don't truly believe how oppressed some women are, or how some demographics are, until they enter the workforce and see it for themselves or experience it themselves. So it's really important to have these figures, these people tell their stories so that they can see, hey, this person didn't, because this culture, these kids, they've lived. I mean, my kids, they don't know life without social media, without iPhone, without the internet. And they think that everything they see on social media is real, or they're like, oh yeah, well, I know it's not real, but then you act, their actions clearly shows like they're trying to replicate that lifestyle, or,
Mm-hmm.
So when they see these successful people that supposedly blow up overnight, and then they hear the story of how many years it took, then that clicks. And
I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, then they kind of come down that cloud and touch their feet on the ground and be like, oh, I got to get to work. But go ahead. You were going to say something.
Oh, I was just going to say two things. One is you can't know what something is until you see it in front of you, and we grew up in a time where there was such little representation. And there's more now, but certainly not enough. And, it's, we look at success in different ways as well. To us, success isn't the high profile, 6-figure jobs, careers. Like, we've had those, and to us it was success. We were felt successful at the time, but now I feel a million times more successful because I'm following my passions and I'm helping shine a light on other women. To me, now that's success. And every woman that we have involved in the summit looks at success from a completely different perspective. So I think from that angle, it's really interesting too, is like, success isn't just one thing. And to be able to show people that it's okay to define it for yourself is a big kind of underlying, we don't hit people over the head with it during the conference, but I think it's an underlying message that gets sent out to everybody. You can create your own reality, and even if you're in a marginalized community, there are people out there that want to support you. And the more we bring that to the forefront and build this community, the more of a support system everybody's going to have. And that's really the ultimate goal.
Yeah. And I think that with this open-mindedness that we see, you ladies are going to do amazing. I mean, this is only your third summit. And already it's enormous. It's huge. It's very powerful from what I've been seeing. So can I ask you, has there been a certain conversation that you've had with anyone that sticks out? Like maybe the first one that came to mind. What was that conversation about? Tell us a little bit about it.
I think one of my favorite stories from last year's summit was an entrepreneur named Kim Roxy. She has a company called Lamique Beauty. And she's a Black woman who lives in Georgia. Is that she in Georgia? No, she's in Texas, right?
Houston. Dallas.
Yeah. And she grew up in a tough neighborhood and had a tough time, and went to a school where she acted out. She was a kid, she was frustrated, she acted out, and she got kicked out of school. And she promised herself that she was going to make something of herself. And she, long story short, she started this beauty company. And it's makeup, not specifically for Black women, but for, but the foundation of it was for Black women, but she's expanded it now. And, she was trying to get a storefront in a mall, and they would give her one of those little carts, but they wouldn't give her a storefront. And she was, 21 at the time. And they were like, we can't give this to you. You're a kid. You don't know what you're doing. And, we don't trust that you're going to make this happen. You're going to pay your rent. And she said, I'm not leaving this office until you rent me a storefront. And they finally gave in. And she's built this amazing business. She's the first Black woman to have a line in Ulta Cosmetics. She's touring the country right now with an organization called Buy from a Black Woman. And she's just this powerhouse. And she, a couple of years ago, was invited to speak at a high school. And so somebody arranged this for her, and she went, she got the address, and she went, and she's driving to this place, and she's like, this looks familiar. And she pulls up, and it's the high school that had kicked her out so many years ago. And here she was back there giving a speech to inspire people to not give up and to persist and to follow their dreams. And she's just such an inspiring woman. And she's back again this year. I can't wait for everyone to hear her stories and see her speak, because she's amazing.
if, you encounter somebody that says, well, I don't understand this systemic oppression. I don't really understand how it works, nor do I believe it. What would you say to those people?
Ooh. The first thing that comes to my mind is a phone call we had a few weeks ago. We were meeting with all of the participants on the Power of Transformation panel. And one of the people on the panel is a trans woman, and she didn't transition until she was in her 50s. And she's been a woman now for 10 years. And she was listening to all of us speak. And when it came time to introduce herself, she just said, I just want to let you all know I lived as a man for 50 years. And what you are talking about is real.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such an interesting and eye-opening perspective that as a woman who was a cis woman who was born a woman, I can't even imagine what that's like. And to be able to know the difference between how you're treated when you walk this world as a man versus how you're treated when you walk through this world as a woman, and see the difference is just mind-blowing to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to change until we all of us acknowledge that it's the reality and that it's not right. And, I think we're taking some steps back in recent weeks and months in terms of what women's rights are. And I think it opened the eyes of a lot of men, partly because it affects them. So now that it's affected them, it's like, oh, wait a minute, this doesn't seem right. But I think there's lots of things beyond the extremes of horrible things like sexual assault and, violence against women and things like that. There's this sweet spot of just bad behavior that has kept women down for a really long time. And that's kind of what we're trying to dig into as well. Like, we were inspired by the Me Too movement because that's what was happening at the time. And we were hearing all these really powerful stories that we were glad were finally surfacing. But we also wanted to say, there are a lot of powerful women out there doing their own thing, following their passions. And there's a lot of other stuff women have to go through to be even close to being treated like a man. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you don't get the funding, you don't get the access. If you want to rise up in a corporation, you don't get invited to the golf tournament. It's all the little things that are so normalized in everyday life that the more we have women gathering together to talk about these just kind of everyday oppressions, the more people are going to be aware. And that's one of the reasons we invite men to attend. We only have female speakers because we want women to tell their own stories for a change. But we love when men watch the summit, and we've had many men who have watched say to us, oh, so this is what women talk about when we're not in the room. It's like, yep, this is the unfiltered, I don't want to say girl talk because that makes it sound trivial, but this is what women's conversations are. This is what's important to women. And this is how men can join us in changing the system, because it's not going to change if we keep trying to do it alone.
That's so powerful. I have these conversations with my husband a lot because he's trying to undo his own, unlearn the things that he was taught. I think a lot of people don't want to admit that they have a lot of those negative thoughts. And it can be challenging. It's hard work. Even for us, right? Even for women, because we're taught those things over generations. So speaking about trying to overcome those objections, what type of challenges have you both had while working with the Passionista Project or with the summit?
I think the biggest challenge for us is just getting the word out there. It is so incredibly hard to make a noise. There's just so much coming at you from every angle, and 700 different social media platforms, and streaming devices and podcasts, and it's just so hard to rise to the top and make a noise. So we believe with all of our hearts that this is important, useful, powerful information, and that these women that we're talking to can change the world, but we need people to hear them. And that's been the biggest challenge, is just, getting sponsors to listen to us, and getting ticket buyers to, decide to give us the money, as opposed to one of the other 700 things that lands in their mailbox every day. So that's the biggest challenge. We're working with a bunch of great people who are trying to help us out, and we're all flustered and flabbergasted as to why, the ticket sales just aren't through the roof. But we're working at it, and we're not giving up. But these women's voices need to be heard, and we're going to make sure they are.
Yeah, and we had a revelation recently, as someone mentioned in a interview we did the other day. We kind of like men needing to rise up. White women need to rise up, and we say that as white women. More white women are stepping forward now, again, because it's starting to impact them in a way that marginalized women have been impacted for centuries, at least. So I know for us, we get up every day just trying to figure out how to spread the word more, because these aren't our stories. Nancy and I introduce a few things here and there. We do an interview, but we do not insert ourselves in these conversations. We haven't lived the experiences that these women have, and so we don't want to insert our perspective on what it's like to live with a disability, or what it's like to have grown up as a Latina woman. So I know that all we want to do is create the biggest platform possible for these voices to be heard. So just kind of adding to what Nancy's saying, like, that's the reason why it's not about anything but trying to elevate marginalized women's and non-binary people, and self-identifying women's voices, so that they can be heard. If people aren't hearing these topics, a lot of times you don't know about them. We're surprised every day. We think at this point we're pretty educated on the issues affecting women, and every conversation we have, we're like, what? What's happening? Wait a minute. How do we not know about that? So we want to spread those stories so people can, and give solutions. I mean, part of the summit is like, okay, so now what? Now what can we do? Give us some tips on how we can support your community, so that people walk away, even if it's a small thing, like if you aren't a disabled person, but you go to a restaurant and they don't have an accessible bathroom, say something. It's those little everyday moments that can change the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that your platform helps women find that voice. It might take a while, but hearing those stories, it'll stay there, and like, wait, I need to do that. I mean, I've experienced that many times when I'm listening to a podcast, and then maybe months later, I'm like, oh yeah. And then I hear myself, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm repeating what I heard months ago, or I'm doing what that one lady said she did on that podcast. And that's why it's powerful to feed ourselves with positive things. So the other way that you're helping spread the word is your podcast. Can you tell us a little bit about the podcast?
Yeah. So podcast is live every other Wednesday. And then on the opposite Wednesdays, we have bonus clips. And we talk to women who are following their passions. So we have talked to everyone from a woman who melts down nuclear weapons and makes peace angel sculptures. She's the largest arms dealer in the world.
Wow.
To a woman who runs a charity for her because her son is non-ambulatory and is in and out of the hospital all the time, and she couldn't leave his room to get a cup of coffee. So she has started this organization that puts coffee makers in pediatric care units for other families to have just a little bit of comfort while they're dealing with trauma. So, and the greatest thing that we did when we started our podcast was every single woman we interview, we ask her to nominate somebody else for us to interview. So that has led us on this spider web of women that we never in a million years ever would have met. And it just brings us down all these paths that, you know, we probably wouldn't have explored on our own. So we just love the fact that, and those women always say yes, because they come recommended from a friend. So they're not like, oh, who are these women that want to talk to us? And it's opened up our world so much. And we've done over 100 now. I think we're on 106 or something like that. And we already have interviews recorded through the end of the year. So so we're at the point now where we're actually turning people down who want to be on the show because we don't have enough time to do them all, which we hate to do. We're like, but we'll find something. We'll find some way to work together.
Oh, wow. And then you just answered my question, because I was going to ask, how do you find these amazing people? But yeah, word of mouth. And Amy, you were going to say something?
Oh, I was just going to say the other amazing thing that sprung out of doing the podcast was we started to discover all these women who had amazing products. And again, like, women-owned businesses just get such a small sliver of the funding. And so we started a subscription box that is full of products from women-owned businesses. And we do written Q&As with each woman, again, so that you can be inspired by her story. If you're sitting at home and you're thinking, oh, I want to start my own Etsy page, but, you know, oh, that's crazy, I can't do that. It's like, here is 5 women this month who, you know, make jewelry or bath bombs or, you know, clothes, whatever it is. Their stories are included in the box along with these amazing products. So again, it's just another outlet for us to try and elevate women through purchasing their products and spreading the word about them. So that we never would have started that had it not been for doing the podcast. And frankly, one of the women who we interviewed, Sashi Chandran, who runs an amazing company called Tea Drops, we went to her for business advice because she's brilliant. And she was like, oh, you should do a subscription box. So we went home and we're like, what is a subscription box, Google? And figured it out. So it's just, having the podcast has totally transformed our lives.
I love that. So is your shop on your website part of that subscription box? Yeah, because I was looking through it. I was like, you have amazing stuff. This is wonderful. So when people shop through your shop, listen to me, when people purchase through the online shop, are the proceeds going directly to that small business owner, or is that a way to fundraise for the summit, or how is that being allocated?
Our shop on our store is products by all women-owned businesses that we have purchased from them. We always purchase wholesale from women. We believe in paying them their fair price, as opposed to asking them to give us stuff for free. And, you know, a lot of subscription boxes do that, and we don't believe in that. But we also, a portion of everything we sell goes to a different charity. The subscription box, there's a different charity every quarter that we donate a portion of the proceeds, and individual products on our store, on our website, it'll have a little flag telling you which organization the proceeds go to. So
the proceeds, the charities are all women founded or women centric. So all the charitable money goes towards women as well.
Well, with one thing, you're doing all of those things. That's amazing. That's beautiful. And that really speaks to, you know, like, you're not the people that are always encouraging, but not doing. Because I have, unfortunately, encountered some people that they're like, yeah, you got to do this, you got to do it, but then they don't act on it, you know. And that's what I love about you ladies. And I just thank you so much. I want to end the discussion by just asking you a few fun questions, if you don't mind.
Great.
It's going to be more about like how much you know about one another, because you're best friends.
Oh,
nice.
Oh, okay. A little bit of dating game.
I know, right? Yeah. So I'm going to, actually, I should have prepared you for this. Do you happen to have a piece of paper and pencil there?
Yep.
Okay.
I do. Get one.
All right. Yeah. Let's do that.
Okay.
All right. All right.
I'm going to ask you a question about, the other, like the first one, and you write it down.
Okay.
And you're going to show it. It'll probably be in reverse on the camera. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Okay.
All right. What are, of course, your sister's favorite animal?
Oh, that's easy. Well,
Amy.
All right, hold on. I need a new piece of paper. Okay, ready?
Ready. Go ahead. Orangutan, a pug? No, is that right?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, we're supposed to say it first, right? So that way when you show it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, that's okay. I was bad with the
I
instructions.
was going to go orangutan for her, so that was a tricky one.
It's a tricky one. I would say pet, pug, animal.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Angus is in the other room, so I can say it. Probably orangutan. But either. It's tough.
All right.
It's a toss-up. Okay, we'll do it right this time.
Yeah.
No problem. Okay, what is your favorite snack?
Snack.
Your sister's favorite snack.
Or her favorite snack?
Her favorite snack.
I got sucked into what's my favorite snack. I'm like, I got hungry. Oh God. I'm just going to go broad with this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, you both ready? You want to say it?
All right. So do I say mine? Okay.
Yeah.
Mine is chocolate.
Yeah.
That's what you wrote, Amy?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right.
I don't know if I need to get more specific than that.
Both of you?
You'll find that our answers are almost always the same. That's part of why
So
we're
you
such
both
good
like
friends.
chocolate. That's your favorite snack.
Very
I
nice.
don't blame you. Mine's dark chocolate as well.
If I could eat chocolate 24/7 and not eat anything else and be healthy, I would.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. My next question is, would your sister go bungee jumping?
Ready? You go first.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. No,
both of you.
No.
I feel you.
We always say that we'd actually be good on The Amazing Race together if we didn't have to like bungee jump and do those kinds of things.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Eat bugs and things.
Because neither one of us could do that stuff.
And last question. Answer individually. Okay, what is your favorite memory with your sister?
Oh, that's impossible.
Well, pick one. The first one that popped into your head. And you don't have to write it out. You can just go ahead and say it.
We can just both say it.
Okay.
So we're not trying to guess the other ones this time. We're just saying it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, go ahead, Nan.
I would have to say, and it's really so hard because there's the little everyday things that I just love. But I think momentous occasion, I think I'd have to say our trip to Italy and the day we got lost in the Bella Vista.
Oh, that sounds like an interesting story. We'll have that talk later if you don't mind.
That was a good one. One. Mine is going to the Brady Bunch house together.
Oh, that's right up there.
When HGTV renovated the Brady Bunch house. Sorry about the gardener. When they renovated the Brady Bunch house, we got to go on a press event where we got to go into the recreation of the Brady Bunch house.
Wow.
It was the exterior of the real house, and then they redid it to look like the inside of the house.
That's
and
really cool.
it was so cool. Like it was like we were 7 years old and we were unleashed inside our favorite television show, which is we're obsessed with television. So,
Okay, I changed mine. That's mine too.
Yeah. And that was
that or being at the red carpet at the Emmys.
And I originally wrote down interviewing Laverne and Shirley because that was we got to go to Penny Marshall's house and interview Laverne and Shirley together. So that, and with our friend Karen Herman. So Laverne and Shirley was almost the answer, and then I remember the Brady Bunch house.
Yeah.
Wow.
We really have just had so many memories together. Yeah. It's impossible. Because as we're talking, like a million other things are going through my head.
Oh, that is so cool. Let me tell you, ladies, I have 4 other sisters, and you just inspired me to go and call every single one of them because they're in California. So I haven't seen them in a while. I just want to give them a virtual hug because you remind me of that special bond that sisters have. And now I miss my sisters so much.
We have 2 more and a brother, and we miss them every day too. It's like we're so lucky, but there's nothing like a sister. There just isn't, you know. Yeah, and you're helping create these relationships with other women who sometimes they end up calling each other sisters, like blood related sisters, which is beautiful. And I just want to thank you once again for being here on the show, for all of the work that you do to help bring awareness, to improve this world, and to just put some more goodness into the world because we really need it right now. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
We appreciate that so much. And we would love to have your daughters as our guests at the summit if they would like to attend. We'll just give us their names and an email address, and we'll make sure that they can get in if they want to come.
You betcha. I will definitely highly encourage them. And lastly, before we go, can you please tell us where people can buy the tickets?
Yes. So the ticket link is bit.ly/2022 Power Passionistas tickets. And you can also, if it's easier, just go to Passionistasproject.com, and you can navigate and find us there too.
Great. Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
So what do you think about Amy and Nancy? I just had a blast having that conversation with them. I hope that you feel the excitement the way that I do. And please check out the link to attend the summit. I think it's going to be very, very powerful. And remember, if you have young kids, boys or girls, please encourage them to attend, because we really need to inspire, motivate, and just show our children that there are so many obstacles that you can overcome and just reach your goals. And so I hope that you really enjoyed this. Don't forget to leave a review if you like this podcast, and also please share this episode with somebody else. Thanks so much. Until next time.
Hey, did you like that episode? If you did, be sure to subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening and write a review. If you want more tips or some behind the scenes videos, make sure to follow my mom at Dalitalks on Instagram. You can turn on notifications for her posts and stories there as well. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Bye!